live. It's probably about 3 seconds now. Now we're live. We're on. Warren, we're live. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining. If you've been watching the last few months of lockdown, filmmakers, you have noticed. I'm no longer poorly lit shed. I'm in the office, and I've actually put some effort into the lighting, which is nice. Much more professional. And I've got a beer. It's the hottest day of the year. Which is nice. Thanks for joining us. We're joined by Warren today. Hi, Warren.
Hey, how's it going?
Warren is. I'm good, thanks, mate. How are you? Good, thanks, mate.
I'm good. I'm good,
but mate, it's warm today. It's warm today. I'm surviving. I feel like these lights. End of this next hour and taking their toll on me. So I sit further and further back. Shiny. You can't see how shiny my face gets towards the end of it.
Oh yeah, the sweat's real.
Yeah, I don't need that right now. I'm sweating. So. Hopefully everyone's surviving internet-wise. Virgin decided they'd turn off the internet for half of London today, which was kind of them. So hopefully everyone is back on. Warren's going to be co-hosting me today, which is very exciting. It's nice to have a friendly face joining me for a change instead of me being all on my own and thinking about what to say sometimes.
It's great being here. Been keeping up with the whole Peckham filmmakers for the whole lockdown, so it's cool to actually be here. Be a part of it.
So there's comments going saying there's a delay. I don't know what's going on. The feed may or may not be ruined. Who knows? I'm going to let Luke sort it out. We're just going to keep chatting. It seems to be fixed. Maybe it's fixed now. Were you there for the episode when who was it? Was it Tim? We had someone. I can't remember who it was. Someone was joining us, and their feed was so bad their internet cut out, and I had to fill for 5 or 10 minutes, and I just ran out of things to say. Were you there for that one? It was embarrassing. This time that can't happen because we can just talk to each other. It'd be great.
At least you're not on your own. I'm thankfully not on my own. And yeah, we can just we'll keep it going. There'll be a lot of issues today, a lot of panicking. But we'll keep it going.
Good, man. Well, thanks to everyone for joining us. If it's your first Peckham Filmmakers, then welcome. If it's not your first, then welcome back. For everyone who doesn't know, Peckham Filmmakers is a group that kind of started in Peckham of people who kind of work in around the industry, and has kind of grown a bit to just anyone who's interested in joining. Really, the benefit of these lockdown situations is that we're online now, so anyone can join us. So welcome. Please tell your friends about it and come next time. The format for today is the same as always. So we're going to hear from Julian and then from Harry about the films they've made, but I'm not going to spoil them any more than I already have done before the event. I'm just going to let them tell us about them themselves. So I think we should just bring Julian in and get him to tell us what we're going to watch. So hopefully Luke's going to put his face on now. That may or may not work. I've got no idea. Luke's in a different room. Hi Julian, how are you, mate?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Julian's New York, everyone. That's exciting. Another country in a different time zone. It's all very fancy.
So, do you want me to just kind of talk about the film real quick, or?
Yeah, I think it would be great just to hear in a few words what we're going to watch, but don't spoil it for everyone too much.
Sure.
And then we'll put it on, watch it, and then we can grill you about it afterwards.
Sure. So, the first thing I want to mention is that today is the 1-month anniversary of George Floyd's death. And I think it's really important for everyone to take a moment today to just reflect on the last 31 days of our existence and everything that's happened. Because of how quickly the narrative gets changed, especially in the US. So people should really commit what's just happened to memory. But so with regards to my film, so the moment I saw the video of George Floyd's death, it hit me really hard. It just, nearly 9 minutes of watching someone get tortured. And then, when the protests started happening here in New York City, I realized that I had no choice but to do something about it and to make a film to really help people channel all of the emotion that came from it. So that's what this film is.
Nice, man. Oh. Thank you very much. Do you know what? It's mind-blowing that was a month ago.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, yeah. I think let's watch it, because I think there's going to be so much to talk about afterwards, but I think I want to get everyone on the same page before we delve into it any more, so that everyone knows what we're talking about, and from your point of view as well. So I think let's play the film, and then we'll be back here in 5 minutes or so to talk about it.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks, Julian. Luke, please play the
Well, I just want to begin by extending my condolences to the Floyd family. They exemplify spiritual nobility. That's very important. Long history, 400 years of black people having to come to terms with these kinds of vicious murders and assassinations and attacks. But I think what we're really experiencing here, though, brother, and I say this in all honesty and deep sadness, but I think we are witnessing America as a failed social experiment. And what I mean by that is that the history of black people for over 200 and some years in America has been looking at America's failure. Its capitalist economy could not generate and deliver in such a way that people could live lives of decency. The nation state, its criminal justice system, its legal system could not generate protection of rights and liberties. And now our culture, of course, is so market-driven, everybody for sale, everything for sale. It can't deliver the kind of nourishment for soul, for meaning, for purpose. And so when you get this perfect storm of all of these multiple failures at these different levels of the American empire, and Martin King already told us about that. When I saw those pictures there in Atlanta, you could see Martin right there in Atlanta saying, I told you about militarism, I told you about poverty, I told you about materialism, I told you about racism and all of its forms. And what we've seen in America is now these chickens coming home to roost. And in this instant, you have Brother George, where it is so clear it is a lynching at the highest level. Nobody can deny it. And I thank God that we have people in the streets. Can you imagine this kind of lynching taking place? And people are indifferent. People don't care. People are callous. But you know what's sad about it, though, brother? At the deepest level, it looks as if the system cannot reform itself.
I'm the son of a police officer. My cousin is a police officer. And my other cousin, East Point, police officer. And I got a lot of love and respect for police officers, down to the original 8 police officers in Atlanta that even after becoming police had to dress in a YMCA because white officers didn't want to get dressed with niggers. And here we are 80 years later. I watched a white officer assassinate a black man. And I know that tore your heart out. And I know it's crippling. And I have nothing positive to say in this moment, because I don't want to be here. I'm duty bound to be here to simply say that it is your duty not to burn your own house down for anger with an enemy. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. I'm mad as hell. I woke up wanting to see the world burn down yesterday because I'm tired of seeing black men die. He casually put his knee on a human being's neck for 9 minutes as he died like a zebra in the clutch of a lion's jaw. So that's why children are burning to the ground. They don't know what else to do. So my question for us on the other side of this camera is, after it burns, will we be left with charred, or will we rise like a phoenix out of the ashes? It is the responsibility of us to make this better right now. We don't want to see one officer charged. We want to see 4 officers prosecuted and sentenced. We want to see the system that sets up for systemic racism burnt to the ground. But what I can tell you is that if you sit in your homes tonight, instead of burning your home to the ground, you will have time to properly plot, plan, strategize, and organize and mobilize in an effective way. And two of the most effective ways is first taking your butt to the computer and making sure you fill out your sentences so that people know who you are and where you are. The next thing is making sure you exercise your political bully power and going to local elections and beating up the politicians that you don't like. Now is the time to do that, but it is not time to burn down your own home. Now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize.
Right, we're back. We are back. Julian, mate, that's such a good film.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was great. I actually saw it. I saw it like the week before we actually had our protest, and like the energy, and it was powerful to see that, and then to see it around here, and see like that sort of like that same energy and that same sort of like community all come together, and this is happening around the world now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we want to just crack on with some questions. And I guess maybe starting off with it. And the video starts with the riots and the fires in the middle of the city. Just wanted to ask, when you're filming, did you feel like you're at danger at any point?
Yeah. The answer is yes. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, all that night stuff was within, maybe 6 to 8 blocks of my apartment. Some of it directly across the street from my apartment. Especially all the shots with the, burning cop cars and stuff like that. It was all happening in real time around me. So, the concern in that moment was, I need to have a lot of spatial awareness because you don't know if someone's, put an IED in a trash can that you're standing next to or something like that. You don't know if there's someone that wants to, draw in the police and harm them, and you just happen to be there shooting it. So, I had to be very aware of it. I spent a lot of that time just kind of trying to duck next to cars and things because, a cop car would get blown up, and then, a minute later, the gas tank would explode. And you just have no clue what's going to happen in a situation like that.
Were you there? Were you filming it? Did you ever were you just filming it especially just on the grounds? Were you just was it just you with the camera with sort of filming it around? Yeah,
it was just me. I've got kind of a little. So I shot it on my Blackmagic Pocket camera that I've got a little rig for that weighs it down, that gives it kind of the right weight to get smooth motion out of, and I have a little sling that I use on it that's kind of like an easy rig. But yeah, so all the handheld stuff was just like that.
Nice.
What's the decision process in terms of? I'm trying to get in your head of because especially the fire, like you said, is literally in front of your apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Was it an obvious choice for you, literally look out the window, it's kicking off, this is something I've got to go and film? Or was it something that was it a natural reaction that there seemed no obvious other choice to? Or did you have an internal conflict of do I do this, or is it dangerous for me to do this? How did that decision process go?
Well, I mean, the initial decision to go out and protest, period, was a tough one because of, staying inside for 3 months straight because of coronavirus, because, New York got ravaged by it. And getting over the psychological fear of going out into crowds. But once I had kind of made that decision to expose myself, I was just kind of all right, I'm going to go all in.
Just
and yeah, I've already made this dangerous decision, so I might as well kind of go all the way. And throughout the couple of days, so I shot most of it, 90% of the film in one day on Saturday the 30th, shooting day and night. But then like the next 2 days, there was such a continuation of it that I would literally just hear, you know, a protest coming in my neighborhood. I'd hear something explode, and just, you know, pop out a couple blocks and, you know, oh, there's a massive fire right there. That's crazy, and shoot it.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Was there a point where, like, I guess you were filming? Yeah, I guess one of the things I wanted to ask is, like, when you were filming, was there a point where, like, the police had kind of shut it all down, or did you kind of hang around to see if there was anything else, or was a moment where you're like, all right, cool, I think maybe I've got enough?
So on Saturday night, when most of that night footage was shot, the police really did not have control over what was happening. Wow. Again, because so much of this was happening in real time. I mean, you have to imagine, like, you know, a lot of those cop cars that were burning, I suspect that there were cops in those cars when that happened, because some of them were in the middle of intersections. So, you know, it's like someone probably threw an IED into a cop car with the cop in it. So, you know, they were reacting to it in real time as well. And it was happening citywide. It was just spreading. So there did come a point late Saturday night where I was just like, I should probably get out of here. I've gotten everything I need. You know, I'm risking ending up in a very bad situation if I stay out any longer.
Yeah.
I think with all the, I think you've got so much of it as well that was like very, very, even like the torch cars, as well as the car on fire, and the police all kitted up. It was a pretty powerful image.
I think that's an interesting question from Nez here. That's did you have an idea of what you wanted to get in advance, or was it literally just a case of go and shoot everything that you saw, everything that was happening in front of you, and that kind of, I guess, because it is, the story is just a real story. It is just what happened. So how much, like, I guess, creative license did you take with it or want to take with it, or was it just shoot what's true and then show that?
So, you know, before I went out and shot, I knew what I wanted to say. I knew, like, the story that I wanted to tell. And that's something that no matter what I'm doing is so important, is to start with, like, a theme or start with some sort of a statement, because then that dictates your point of view when you're out shooting. You know, so I knew specifically, having been inspired by the words of Cornel West and Killer Mike, I knew I was out there to capture footage that, you know, would be indicative of the problems of systemic racism and the problems of unfettered capitalism in our country. You know, and then on the Killer Mike side, knowing that I wanted to make something that was productive and gave people something actionable to do. So it's not just an emotional response, you know, or like, you know, a film that's just pure shock value of fires. You know, I wanted to make sure that people had something to hold on to and something to do with their emotions. And so, you know, starting from that point, that made it a lot more clear what I needed to shoot when I was out shooting.
You mentioned the kind of those, actually kind of very cleverly linked, well done, to a question that's from Hugo. It's kind of, where's the voiceover taken from? Those, my assumption is, actually, no, I'm not going to bother assuming. Just where did they come from?
So the first half of the film is Cornel West. It came from a CNN interview that he did with Anderson Cooper. And then the second part is Killer Mike, which came from a press conference that he did in Atlanta with the mayor of Atlanta and T.I. as well.
Yeah, it's a very, very emotive speech. I actually saw that. It pops up on YouTube, Facebook, actually. I watched the whole thing. And yeah, I didn't realize Killer Mike's family were all police officers.
Yeah.
I loved it because you could feel like sort of like almost the perspective of being a black man, and having to almost balance like both sides, and being quite conflicted in that, and trying to bring people together in a really kind of deep understanding. It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to be balanced in general. You know, just especially in the world that we live in right now, where social media has forced us into extremes. You're either here or you're here, but that's not where the truth lies. The truth lies somewhere in between. So, you know, I'm not sure I feel conflicted with regards to, you know, police in general, because you have to look at it from a nuanced standpoint that there are good cops and there are bad cops. The problem is that one of the biggest problems is when you have good cops that have to stand up for bad cops. Like that's something that needs to end. And in general, it's the system that it's the system of policing in this country that is perpetuating systemic racism. So we need to have nuanced point of views with regards to policing, where you can't just not have police. One of the things I was very aware of here in New York City during some of the protests is that while we are protesting against police brutality, we do have police here that are protecting us from terrorism, in a very real way. So you have to be nuanced in how you think about it.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not to create a sort of like conflict of us against them is completely like sort of almost like detrimental to what we're all trying to achieve.
Well, one of the things is that we have to bring the good cops in the police force over to our side. We can't alienate them. We need them in order to solve this problem. We need them to stand up within their system in order to solve this problem.
Mm. Mm. We had quite a powerful image here, actually, of one of the policemen like taking a knee, I think, outside Westminster, which was nice to see. It was like good to see that everyone, because I feel like the whole thing, the George Floyd tragedy happening in America, has affected everyone here, whether you're police, whether you are in the public eye, or just or whatever you are doing here. Definitely has moved everyone. So it's nice to see that everyone does care in a sense, especially our police as well.
Yeah.
What was kind of like the most powerful thing that you felt like you saw during your time of shooting it, or kind of like that you captured? What was there kind of like one moment or one thing that really kind of sticks with you?
I think it was simply how overwhelming New York City's response was, just in terms of like boots on the ground, people marching, and especially in the context of all of us having been, forced inside for 3 months, but realizing that we had to do something, that was bigger than our own, individual, health or well-being. We had to show up in numbers in order to, really show people that like, this is it, this is the line. You've finally, crossed this line, and this is new territory, and we're gonna show up when that happens.
Yeah, I think one thing I noticed at the London protest, actually, myself, was suddenly just sort of how creative everyone was. People were dressed up. People made really elaborate signs, and people kind of articulated their messages quite well in those signs. Were there any in the day protests? Were there any like cool? What was it like being around in the crowd and seeing sort of quite diverse bit of like creativity with like signs?
Mm-hmm. One of the great things about New York City is that it is full of so many creatives. This is such a creative city. And so as you were kind of saying, you get a moment where people are able to really express themselves, and express themselves in a really articulate way. So there were some signs that were very simple, just like Black Lives Matter. And then there were some that had strong nuance to them. And I would have to kind of like poke back through to find some of those signs that were really poignant. Moments where you actually take a moment, you got to look up at the sign and really read it, and someone put a lot of thought into it. But yeah. What's
the kind of, do you feel the response has been to the film? Because I was checking it earlier, like it's had over 110,000 views on Vimeo. You've got a staff pick. There's like I saw there's loads of just Vimeo staff commenting on it, which is a pretty, like, just getting Vimeo staff comments is a huge deal.
Yeah.
Loads of people just being like, this is sick. Like, how's it been for you? What did you get? What's it been like getting that response, and was it what you expected?
So it's gotten, I think, somewhere near 330,000 views across all the platforms. Maybe one of the first things to say is that this was one of the few pieces I've made where I was in tears while editing it. And I was getting shivers while making it, and that was kind of the moment that I realized that, wow, I think this is going to impact a lot of people. Because I'm not a big crier, and I was sitting there literally crying while editing it. So I like the reception has been overwhelmingly positive, which for me is amazing, because my goal here, it's like this film isn't about me. I am like completely unimportant with regards to this film. It's about how the film makes people feel. And the fact that it's gone out and into the world and touched so many people, and also mobilized so many people, is what it speaks to is the asymmetrical power of filmmaking and of art. That one person can go out and recontextualize our world, and that it can impact hundreds of thousands of people. And it's going to be so important leading up to November that artists go out and create art, because art scares the shit out of people. It's so incredibly powerful. And one of the things I realized the other day, I think I phrased it very simply, is that this election in the U.S. is going to be won or lost. Winning or losing this election is going to come down to storytelling, and that's it. It's like who has stronger storytelling. Whoever has stronger storytelling will win.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Speaking of that side of it, like the big part for me, I don't know what you think, Warren, but for me, the music in the film and the sound design in the film play a huge role in the storytelling you're doing. I think, and also because you've got such a strong, two strong voiceovers in it, or interviews, how you refer to them. I think then the music and the sound design really ties those in together. How did that whole side of it work with the music and the sound?
So, sound is something that's very important to me in all of my work. And I actually consider sound to be, the tiniest bit more important than the picture. And the reason for that is that people will deal with crappy quality video, but the moment you can't understand what's being said, for instance, you lose everyone. Mm-hmm. Sound is, it's a completely different film if you turn the sound off. So, I was very lucky that I have a very awesome collaborator that I do most of my work with, named Jeff Strasser, sound designer. And I hit him up maybe 2 days before I put out the film, and was like, hey, I made this thing. I have a couple of really great ideas for sound design. Will you help me finish this? And we basically did all the sound design the night before I put it out. But what was really important in this film is that because I was living this thing in real time, it was constant helicopters, constant sirens, things exploding just in my real world. I knew that had to be built in to complete the story, to really transport people into the world. So yeah, I mean, from a sound design standpoint, we really went in a detailed manner and figured out, how do we want people to feel at different moments, and how can we use sound to push that. Then in terms of score, a filmmaker who I'm like incredibly inspired by on the narrative side is Denis Villeneuve. Prisoners is just such a great film. And so I was, just kind of poking through music, because I didn't have the time to score this. I just, I knew I had to put this film out as quickly as possible. And I've always been struck by Johan Johansson's score for Prisoners. And there's that specific song, A Candlelight Vigil, that, thematically was so on point with how I wanted people to feel about mourning George Floyd's death. But, then to contrast that with the second song that I used, which is Glass by Hani Irani, to start with something that is so strong in terms of mourning, so emotional in terms of mourning, and then move to something that is optimistic and motivational. It's almost like a problem solution structure in the film, that I wanted to make sure that people, I really wanted to bring them down and suck them in emotionally, and then bring them up and empower them to do something about it. So that's very generally how I approach sound and music.
Yeah, I really love the way Killer Mike's speech ended. Was really powerful. It was almost like a call to action.
Yeah.
It's really good. It was really clear as well. Do you have access to like that audio, that recording?
So I pulled it down, and then Jeff Strasser cleaned it up for me.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It was like crisp. It's great.
Yeah.
So, Julian, I think we've probably got to wrap up time-wise, so we can move on to chat with Harry as well. But I feel like me and Warren could sit here and talk to you for the whole day, but I feel like people might not appreciate a 7-hour YouTube video. I think, I know me and Warren both said it before we started anyway, but just one, thank you so much for joining us all the way from New York. I appreciate that it's a very different time zone for you guys, so thank you. And thank you for making the film, because I think me and Warren probably both agree that it's one of the pieces that's come out of the last month that has really made people stand up and think, or pay attention to how they think, or pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah,
it's been far more important than just a film.
Thank you so much. That means so much, and thank you for helping me get this out globally, which is so important.
Oh, dude, definitely. The same as Alan said. Really powerful. Really loved it, and to be able to have a perspective from that side that isn't what we've just kind of been bombarded with in the media, which is always usually just the most intensely negative parts of it.
Yeah,
it really is cool, man, and it's important to do.
Cool. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Mate, Julian, thank you very much. It's been cool. Well, hopefully, maybe we'll get Julian back in a future one when we've got another film to show. But for now, mate, thank you. I think we're going to jump straight in to bring Harry in. So by some magic, his face will appear on the screen. Hopefully that's now happened. And he can tell us about his film. Hi, Harry. How are you?
Ooh. I'm very well, thanks. How are you doing?
Good, man. Very good.
Thanks for having me on.
Right,
yeah,
thanks.
too.
Do you want to tell us a bit about what we're gonna watch?
Sure. So Stop and Search is a role reversal satire about stop and search. I don't think I need to say too much about the film, but I think it's worth talking about the issue a little bit. So in the UK, black people are 9.7 times more likely to be searched than white people. That's a statistic for the year running up to April 2019. And since then, there's been a lot more stop and search, and evidence so far, it seems to point to it just getting worse, it disproportionately affecting BAME people in general, but especially black people. And often it's for just some completely tenuous reason. So I wanted to make a film that exposed the absurdity of these encounters.
Nice. Well, I think let's watch it, and we can see how you did it, and then we'll talk again in about 5 minutes' time.
Brilliant.
Nice one, Luke.
God's sake. Here we go. Let's go.
Hold up! What are you two washing off to then, eh?
Why you throw away your chips like that?
That's a waste, man.
Which one?
Nah, I meant like, that's a waste, man. Like...
Oh. yeah, true that. It's a waste of ketchup as well. You get me?
They make you pay extra for that now.
All right, man. Made for your ketchup, you know.
That should be a crime, lad. You get me? You know what I'm saying, yeah?
You should get locked up for that.
It's daylight robbery.
Hands against the wall.
What? Why?
Hands against the wall, you deaf. We haven't done anything.
That's exactly why we need to search you. You ain't done nothing, which means you're about to do something.
Oh, what, because we're policemen, yeah?
Leave it, Terry.
Ain't got nothing to do with you being a Fed man. You don't see uniform.
Are they wearing uniforms, blood?
See? You're blind to 'em.
Just a random search.
Oh, yeah, of course it is, yeah.
And on top of that, you fit the description.
Well, which one is he?
You what?
Well, it can't be both, can it? It's either random or we fit the description. Which one is it?
What did you just say?
I didn't say anything.
Yes, you did. You said something to Terry.
I said leave it.
Why don't you tell him again? He weren't listening the first time.
Leave it, Terry.
I think you should take his advice, Tezo.
Of course. Could be both. Out of everyone that fits the description, we randomly picked you.
What are you looking for?
Jesus Christ.
Let's just say we're looking for the kind of person who likes fish and chip shop chips more than chicken shop chips.
So what are you actually looking for? This'll do. It's not what it looks like. Turn around. Hurry up, blood. What are you planning to do with these, officer? You weren't thinking of using them to search young black men, were you? No? No? Okay, then. What are they for, then?
Hair dye.
What?
Hair dye.
You ain't got any haircuts.
Not there.
You think we're gonna believe that?
No. I mean, yeah. I'm not lying. I can show you.
Keep your hands where I can see him. Hands where I can see him, bruv.
Ah! What are you doing, man?
Watch.
Oh, this is insane.
Face the wall, blood.
Please, you just take a look.
You shut your mouth.
Please, just take a look in my pants.
I ain't looking at your pants, man. Face the wall.
Oh, please. Yo, T, I got 2 feds down here by the chippy. Yeah, they got rubber gloves on them. Yeah, exactly. Send a couple of bats over, and we'll put them on the back of them, yeah? Yes. Yo! Bob! What are you doing? But what's wrong with this guy, cuz?
Jesus Christ, man.
So how you feel right about now? Humiliated, yeah? Like it's us against you? Like it's all we ever expected from you? Oi! I'm talking to you! You feel like that? Yeah. I thought so.
All right, credits are rolling. And we're live again, having always been live. Harry, well done, mate. That is a
Thank
good
you very much.
It's a funny film on a level that it's just a very entertaining piece of content to watch, and then has so much, obviously, of an actual serious message as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, loved it.
What was how did it come about then? What was the, obviously I know you said that kind of in the lead-in, obviously, like the statistics essentially that it's based on. How did they kind of present themselves to you? Like, how did you become aware of essentially of the situation and therefore led to making the film?
Yeah, well, I guess it's something I've been aware of for a while. Growing up in northwest London, having black friends, it's something kind of quite used to. Every time you go to Notting Hill Carnival, you notice the police lining up only black guys and searching them. So it's, you know, something that I think, you know, me and people who are directly affected by it much more than me have been aware of it for a while. But then, yeah, last year we started to, I don't know, I think it was a Guardian article that I saw the statistics, the 9.7 times more like black people, 9.7 times more likely to be searched. And so yeah, that's how I guess I was aware of the issue. How that then turned into a film, I guess, is just, it's not true of every film I've ever made, but it's a general approach that I love satire. I think satire can be a really powerful tool to talk about difficult and serious subjects in a comedic way, which, you know, not to make light of them or to trivialize them, but to sort of, you know, often expose some absurdity, expose some hypocrisy, and mock the guilty parties, you know. And that's, I'm interested in that as a role, and that's seemed to be the way I thought, okay, how can I make something about this issue? That kind of led me to the role reversal satire, really.
Actually, saying that, I think one of my favorite lines in it was when I think it was Alessandro leans into policeman's ear, and he said something about this type of person who likes fish and chip shop chips rather than chicken shop chips. One of my favorite line there. Was that when you're writing it? I know satire, but were you ever like maybe worried about maybe going a bit too far, maybe being offensive? That's what I was saying when you're writing it. Or was that the point to sort of just push it?
Offensive. I mean, in terms of that sort of language, I didn't worry about that being offensive, you know, because it was trying to, I guess, it's trying to reverse things as much as possible. And so that was trying to think of racist abuse to white people, which, you know, it's not a thing that happens very often. So there's a certain amount of, well, you know, so there's a certain amount of imagination that needed to come into play there. In terms of being offensive, no, that wasn't really a main concern. I suppose what I was concerned about was, you know, making a film about something that I haven't experienced myself. And you know, there's a long history of black stories and black characters being told by white filmmakers or other types of in many other art forms as well, and that's so often can be misrepresented. So that was what I was worried about, was misrepresenting that experience, which, you know, but I hope that just by doing research and talking to friends and working with Alessandra and Salome, who have been stopped and searched themselves, that you just try and make sure that doesn't happen, and trust them to kind of call you out and keep you honest, I guess.
Yeah.
Cool. That leads on to a good, like, how the hell did you get that cast?
Well, I was quite lucky, really, to have known them or worked with them before. So I'd worked with Salome, Phil and Dean before on other short films, and I knew Alessandro from going to the same uni. And I guess as a general rule, I like to work with people I know as much as possible, just because, you know, that's just a shortcut. You know, we already kind of have a sort of a language that we can use together. And yeah, just lucky that all those actors happen to be very experienced, loads of interesting work. So yeah, I count myself grateful from that point of view.
Yeah, they were great. I think it was like, a very, very strong point of the film cast.
What was the setup for it? What was the crew size? How big was? I guess, like, Warren and I are both. Well, I'm not speaking to you, Warren. From my point, especially, I'm used to quite small crews, small casts, and most of the stuff that me and Warren have worked on together has been like that similar size, like relatively small setups. Was it the same for this, or was it a bigger thing?
No, it was small. It was, for people on set, it was only, I think, less than 12 people. Which was partly enforced, I think, because we were shooting outside with police uniforms. I think, yeah, we would have had to pay some money if it was any larger crew, but actually we didn't need any more, and and it can be great actually to have that sort of tight unit where everyone's kind of invested and knows what's happening, and it was, no one was wasted on the set, everyone was involved.
There's a question from Brilliant here which something we were talking about in the break, Harry, was about the kind of like the timeline of how long it took. Can you maybe just like tell us a bit about the kind of like when did you shoot it, and then kind of like what was the process of being released? And obviously, it's like I said, it's quite timely in terms of when it's come out.
Yeah. So I actually, I mean, the script came together fairly quickly, over a month or two. The shoot itself happened about a year ago, and I was entering it into film festivals for a while, and it's only now that I kind of heard back from all of them, and so now was the time. So yeah, there's kind of, I guess, an element of luck in the sense that I was thinking of releasing it fairly soon anyway, and then the George Floyd tragedy happened, and people started talking about race a lot more, and I just thought, yeah, a perfect time to slightly speed up the release, to take advantage of that sort of attention and focus and willingness to talk about these issues.
What's the reaction been kind of that over the last couple of months, kind of since it's been out?
Yeah, really positive, really positive. Lots of personal messages, which make a big difference, really. Quite immediately, and sort of any nerves I had about how it would be perceived, and even though I didn't feel like I was trivializing the issue, there's a part of me that was concerned about that. But yeah, no, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and managed to sort of get a bit of press as well in the Evening Standard, which was helpful. And yeah, and who knows what would have happened if it was at this time. It wasn't at this time.
Mm. Where did you actually shoot it as well, Harry? I really like the location of it being quite like a little claustrophobic little alley.
Yeah, so that's an alleyway in Hampstead. Yeah, so I grew up on Finchley Road, so not too far from there. So I just knew that there was nice alleyways with lots of depth, and also just a controllable space, which was important for the police uniforms element, that we could just put signs and warn people that if they went down the alleyway, they would see policemen getting roughed up. So
yeah, it could definitely draw a crowd. I love the way it's shot though. I thought like so the angles, especially obviously claustrophobia, make it feel like quite tense, but also like the way you shot Alessandro made him feel quite like menacing. Guess when you were casting it, were you actually like looking for anything in particular for who would play like the black guys, or who would play the police?
Yeah, well, good cop, bad cop is a bit of a cliche, but for this kind of film, exactly the sort of cliche you want to take advantage of, because you are flipping roles and you want those roles to be sort of archetypal. So I guess I was thinking from that point of view. And yeah, Alessandro's got a fantastic physicality. I mean, he can be very funny, but you can also be very intimidating. He's done that in Top Boy, and he's done that in Flesh and Bone, which he won an Olivier Award for. And so he was kind of ideal for the bad cop role. And Salom, very charming, lovable, cuddly guy, so he could just do that good cop with ease. And he can handle humor really, really well, as all of the cast are, and that's why I work with him. But he's brilliant with that.
Yeah, the comedy was great. I think even just the first scene where they see each other, probably like my favorite little bit of it. Like just those looks, immediately you know what's going on, how they feel.
Yeah.
It's cool.
There's something very nice about kind of, for me at least, and I've been interested to see what you think, Warren, but for me it trod the line very well between being funny but not diminishing the message. And I think especially actually the start and the end for me do a really good job of that, where the start there is that comedy almost like kind of Hot Fuzz slapstick-esque, like, oh shit, down your chips, do a runner, look who's here. But then that, with then the very last lines Alessandro says, which I can't remember exactly what the words are, but his like very last comment of like, it's something like, how does it feel, or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. How does it feel? Yeah.
It's a really good job of, for me, balancing the kind of, it's a funny satirical thing to watch, but then right at the end reminds you that it's like, this is very much actually a real issue that's the whole point of the film, is to highlight the real thing. What do you think, Warren?
Yeah. I liked the message at the end. It was almost like just kind of help bring it back to like, remind people that this is actually a serious issue, and this is actually something that people actually have to deal with and experience. It's almost like, because after that, you almost feel like you'd love to meet a policeman, sit down and watch this and be like, does this make you feel like how as conflicted as this is like showing? Yeah, because there's
thank you. I mean, yeah, I guess I felt like it needed that sort of a bit of a punch at the end, and to sort of bring it to the issue in a more serious way. It was a slightly, not the easiest decision, or I suppose one of the challenges of doing that is it almost steps out of the film to a certain extent. It becomes almost didactic, which I didn't want to push too far, but that was sort of the balance I was trying to ride, and hopefully hasn't gone too far in either direction.
Yeah,
it works. I think it works really well. Just try those lines. What do you think the hopes are for the film, kind of over the next kind of coming months? Do you think it's got kind of more legs to it?
I'd love it if it did. Yeah, I'm gonna keep on sending it around, and just of course we'd like as many people to see it as possible, and just keep, as we were saying over the break, it's about trying to keep that conversation going, I guess, as much as possible. You don't want to just care about racism while it's fashionable. We need to keep it up momentum. So and obviously it's going to take a lot more than this film to do that, but if that can be part of a larger effort, that would mean a lot.
This could spark a new sort of like universe of black males as the police, and police as the unruly youths in the community, and reverse kidulthood.
One of my favourite questions to ask of pretty much every short film is, how much did it cost?
So it was super cheap. A grand or two.
No way.
Yeah, it was probably about $2,000. A few friends kindly did me a favour, and everyone that was paid not anywhere near as much as I'd like to pay them if I could. But part of the reason I had some other scripts written, but part of the reason that I made this one is because it was cheap, because it was doable. It was a sort of a cast piece. It was one location. It was one day shoot. We pulled lots of favours, as I'm sure everyone always does with short films. So yeah, it was around that sort of amount.
Bang for your buck. That is very impressive.
Thank you. Well, I sort of have all my friends to thank for doing work for less than they should for that. And also getting great deals from Cheat, who did the grade. Jax did the grade there, and One Stop Films. They were very supportive of low budget independent filmmaking. So that was very good of them.
Oh mate, thank you so much for coming and talking to us about it. It's been so cool.
Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, no, it's a pleasure.
Is there anything you want to ask Harry that we haven't asked him yet before we wrap up generally for the day?
Actually, it's almost like the way it was shot. It was shot obviously quite cinematically, even though it was a bit of satirical style. Was there any sort of thought about how you wanted to shoot it, or lenses and style?
Yeah, so we sort of decided to shoot it anamorphically because of that. Because in a sense, it is a sketch, and I guess we didn't want it to have a kind of. We wanted to give it a cinematic feel by giving that sort of that wide scope. and apart from that, I guess it was just about just trying to have as much dynamism with the camera as possible. You know, trying to make sure that us being in one location with 4 actors doesn't get stale, and trying to move the camera as much as possible and give it energy. Really.
Cool.
Mate, it's so good. I feel like, again, it's another one that we could talk about the rest of the afternoon, but I feel like you've probably got stuff to do. And it's the hottest day of the year, and people want to be outside.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
On a serious note, thank you so much for coming along. It was really cool to have you and Julian both come and talk about 2 kind of completely different, almost like polar opposite films that essentially are talking about the same thing, or the same wider issue. And I think, like you said, it's a topic that we shouldn't just be talking about racism and kind of black injustice because it's fashionable in June. It should be something that keeps going. So hopefully that's something, as I said, kind of, we can all do our bit to help, our bit to kind of push that conversation forward.
Thanks so much. It was a real privilege to have the film show with you.
There'll be a physical one allowed at some point, and we can all do this in a real room, in the same room together.
Yeah.
Being in this overly lit studio.
Look forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming along and co-hosting with me today. I'm going to make this all the time now.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure speaking to you, Harry. And it was a pleasure speaking to Julian as well. Incredibly talented directors, and I think one of the special things about these screenings take a lot of inspiration and intellectual knowledge as well. It's been really nice. Yes, thanks for having me on, and thanks for putting the screenings on during lockdown. It's been a nice little community event that I think we've all been able to really enjoy and learn from. Come together. So yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. I'm glad you've enjoyed them as much as we have.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for everyone for watching. Please do share the video around. It will stay on YouTube for ever, I'd imagine, until YouTube is taken down and destroyed. So yeah, please share it around. Tell your friends about the conversation. I think they're kind of, more than anyone we've done before, this is one that the films need to be watched, and the conversation, I think, needs to be heard from people who made them as well. So please share them all, and we will see you at the next one. Maybe the next one will be in real person, and you can all come to Peckham, and we can actually have a beer in real life together.
Yeah. No, I can't wait for a real live Peckham Screenmakers filming. So I can hug someone. It's emotional.
From a distance, those.
Yeah. Team A.
Guys, thank you very much. And I'm going to go have a beer in the sun. Hopefully you guys can do the same. Or not have a drink if you don't drink. Also fun. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye now.
See you later.